What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. I'm super excited. I know a lot of you people out there, my audience, you guys are all entrepreneurs, somebody that's doing great things and just wanting a good resource and come to me for my value that I offer on my show. I have a special guest who's named 100 Most Influential Persons in Accounting Today, 30 Best CEOs of the Year by the Silicon Review. Did I say that right? Silicon? Yeah. CEO Today Hall of Fame, woo, and Best Specialty Tax Practice Year 2019 by Acquisition International. Please welcome Mr. Julio Gonzalez, national tax reform expert, and he is the founder and CEO of Engineer Tax Services. Julio, thank you for joining us today. Please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Yeah, super excited to be on. Thank you for having me. Well, we have the largest tax credit and incentives company in the country, and we work really with several thousand CPA firms to help their serial entrepreneurs take advantage of all the tax credits that you probably hear Fortune 500 companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, all these companies take all these tax credits that is afforded to them, but it's really afforded to every serial entrepreneur. But serial entrepreneurs typically don't have the resources, typically don't have the knowledge. They're just trying to build their companies. But there's this source of capital that's tax credits that's available to them. So my goal is to make sure that every entrepreneur, every small business owner has the opportunity through their accountant, through their CPA, through education to take advantage of these tax credits so desperately needed to grow their companies.
I totally agree. And so before we start recording, I told you I'm a serial entrepreneur and I've got a lot of experience, probably more than the average person. My late husband and I had 5 businesses. We worked with one of the largest accounting firms here in the Chicagoland area, Miller Cooper. And, I learned a lot through them, some of those tax credits and those advantages. They were very knowledgeable. And now, like moving forward, I don't work with them anymore because my lifestyle completely changed after my husband passed. And the most recent accountant I worked with, and I have a business, I have an LLC, and they really weren't able to tap into any of those. They didn't, or I don't think they were knowledgeable about some of those those tax credits that are out there for business owners. And I kept asking questions, and I'm so small at this point, but I still felt like they were lacking to offer me some value when it came to that. So anyone that's out there listening, what would you tell them to ask their accountant or their CPA in regards to getting tax credits, and how that would how different business sizes could benefit?
Yeah, well, any size can benefit, really. I mean, now we have a whole host of new tax credits associated with the CARES package from last year that fell into this year. So both this year and last year, there's opportunities in employment tax credits, employee retention credits, but certainly it's all about creating employment and investing in the United States and the assets associated with investing in small business owners. So like there's credits for employing people, there's credits for investing in assets that grow companies. And I think those are the questions I would start with. Look, Miller Cooper is one of the best CPA firms in the country, but they're one of the largest as well, probably top 30.
Yeah.
But not everyone's going to be able to be with the top 30
Yeah.
accounting firms. And once you fall out of that top 50, most accounting firms just aren't going to have the knowledge and resources. So like there's so much information out there on the web, right? And you got to investigate on yourself as an entrepreneur. Get some good influential people in your company that have an understanding of these things. Put them on your advisory board. But definitely, it's so key to preserving wealth as a serial entrepreneur, and that preservation of wealth helps you grow your company.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, so if someone can't afford a large CPA firm like Miller Cooper, or even like someone not as big, what would you recommend them to start doing in regards to finding those tax credits? Because I mean, that is time consuming, and maybe some people lack the knowledge of where to look. I mean, what would your advice be in regards to that?
Yeah, I tell every serial entrepreneur that accounting is so important, right? You're a serial entrepreneur, you're going to grow this great company, but you have to know the numbers.
Yeah.
And you have to know not only your numbers, but the tax code and how it can benefit you. And I think this is something that serial entrepreneurs typically don't invest in. They consider it an expense. And so why put a lot of resources into an expense when it really is an investment? And so, get into groups, YPO, some EO, some organizations like that, where you're with peers that, obviously have this knowledge, and being in peer groups, I think, is vital. Watching your show, I think those are things that you have to invest in yourself, and this is a critical piece.
Yeah, no, I would agree. YPO though, I mean, for the average entrepreneur, unless they're hitting $1 million, I think is the revenue to join that group, they're not going to be able to benefit from that. We were going to get into the YPO. He was actually going to name me president, and I was going to be one of the members because he had passed. My late husband had passed the age restriction. Because I think it's like 45 or 46, something like that. I think he was 48 at the time. We originally were looking at to join the Aspen chapter because the chapters here in the Chicagoland area were closed, and we got a referral to from a member who is actually WPO now because because you join the YPO and then then you graduate to the WPO, right? Are you familiar?
Who knew that 45 was too old, right? And then
well, I mean, I hope that's not the case anymore because honestly, I'm 44 and I still feel like I'm in my 20s.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they moved the age up to 50, but certainly Entrepreneurs Organization is another incredible organization. It doesn't have that age restriction, and it's a great group nationwide to great education, and get people around you, get advisors around you that understand some of these tax benefits, understand accounting. I think it's vital. And again, these are important things. I'm a serial entrepreneur as well, and I think that you got to know the numbers, you got to understand the tax code, because that's the best way to preserve wealth. I mean, you can work so hard to grow an organization, but if you're going to give away 50 to 60% of every dollar you make because you just don't simply understand the tax code and the tax credits, you're going to work a lot harder than your other competition that may be working a lot smarter.
Yeah, that's true. So can we talk about like some of the tax credits around the CARES Act right now, which I think is going to be more beneficial for this conversation for the audience because that is something that we are still recovering from. I have no idea. Like I don't know any of the tax credits that they're offering or any of the whatever. Could you tell us about some of those that you know offhand that would benefit any entrepreneurs that are listening?
Yeah, certainly. Listen, some of the big stuff that came out of these PPP, bailout funds, the biggest one is the employment retention credit. So any entrepreneur out there, any small business owner that retained employees, there's certain tax credits associated, which are refundable last year and this year. They're big tax credits and a lot of money associated with that. And also payroll tax credits. So you also have that available to you. And you have certain benefits and more expensing available to you under the new tax codes created in the CARES package. So there's a lot of opportunities there, and they're very significant. Obviously, we had the PPP funds as well, so I'm sure most people know about those. Maybe still people haven't taken advantage of those, but there's also other SBA funding out there, programs, grants at the SBA now that can help companies. So those collective issues can create a lot of capital and a lot of help.
Yeah, I know a lot of those. I mean, I got a PPE, right? PP, I don't know. Anyways, PPP.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
You got it right.
I got one of those last year. I just decided not to get another one this year, but yeah, I know it helped a lot of people. Because I have a skincare line that I currently have, and all my spas shut down that I was selling to. So all my I lost sales for a whole year, and people still weren't open. I think one of my spas just opened up at the beginning of this year because Illinois was so shut down. We went through all the different phases. All right, so you've been named some pretty big titles here. So you are 100 most influential person in accounting today. So tell us about that. So how does that work when you get to be named in the top 100? Because that's a big deal.
It's a big deal in our industry, certainly, and such an honor last year to be named that. Well, I think that last year we did two acquisitions, major acquisitions, to become really the largest tax credit and incentives firm in the country. And I guess they felt that was worthy. And I work a lot in DC with the administrations with Congress on the Ways and Means Committee, Senate Finance, to help craft the tax law that the congressmen put out here in the country. And certainly I advise them from the tax perspective of, no one in Congress, no one has ever owned a company. They've never signed the front of a check, but they create our tax laws. They create the tax rules. And certainly, tax rules when you change them, it changes another million pages of tax code. So, I try to offer what could be the unintended consequences when you do this for a small business and change this tax code and how it'll impact companies across the country. And, so I've had meaningful relationships with all the congressmen, all the senators on what are good tax changes. Certainly, we have a lot coming up for small business in October of this year. And those are key things that I think Accounting Today felt qualified me for that position, which I've been honored to, be named to.
That's awesome. I like how you smile there. Good. You should smile. Be proud of that. That's amazing. Sure, you've worked very hard. So how long have you had your business?
Yeah, this is going into our third decade. So I started accounting back in the 80s with a firm based out of Illinois, your state there, Arthur Anderson.
Okay.
And there we did tax credits for all the Fortune 500 companies. And I just realized that those tax credits weren't being available to the small businesses because no CPA firm outside the top 50 was going to have the resources to provide those tax credits to the country. So that was really the journey of the last 20 years, is to go be a partner up with all the CPA firms across there, the accounting firms that could really use this resource to benefit their clients. And, my goal is to make sure that every entrepreneur, every small business owner has the availability to these tax credits. So we're a long way into the journey, but we have a long way to go.
I love that. I think that's really great that you want to do that. And it's very smart, just a very fast way to reach more people through all those different firms. So if somebody wanted to work with you, a small business or a business owner, or somebody out there that's listening, where could they find you, and how does that work when they reach out to your team?
Yeah, I mean, really for us, we work with them and their CPA firm.
Okay.
So, or their accountant. So we're here to be a resource to both them to decide if there's tax credits and opportunities associated with their employment activity, what they're acquiring, things of that nature. And they can find us at engineeredtaxservices.com. And we'll work with them, their accounting firm, their CPA firm, and make sure that we help. We've worked with Miller Cooper for a decade, so we certainly know them well, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
And but again, there's 40,000 CPA firms and accounting firms that we don't work with, and they may not have those resources. But the good thing is, listen, we're not taking over an accounting relationship. We're just working with your accounting relationship to help bring some benefits that are probably often overlooked by the serial entrepreneur.
Sure. I love that. It's amazing. Well, any like great success stories that you might have that you want to share? An example maybe of an entrepreneur that has a CPA firm that came to you, and you guys partnered together to review some kind of whatever credits that may have benefited them. Just an example.
Yeah, it's a great question. And, we had so many amazing experiences last year with COVID. So we had so many companies that just literally could not keep their doors open, and they weren't aware of the tax credits. And we really did a great job, I think, communicating all the new tax credits associated with small businesses and working with their accounting firms. We kept several, small businesses, manufacturers that develop apps and different technologies, and really literally were days from shutting down their doors and sending their employees home. But these tax credits that we went back and helped them with, were able to fund them to keep the doors open and keep the practices open. And, I don't, nothing will ever top that, right? Going through something like that and helping these small business owners, be able to survive to the next life and keep the doors open.
That's huge. I mean, I've had a lot of these conversations with different people that offer services like you do, and entrepreneurs are the backbone of our country. Really, we gotta keep them alive. And the pandemic really hurt a lot of people. I know that a lot of businesses around here closed, and it's very sad. And the people there are so many resources, even from just like a personal level, that most people don't even tap into. And there are things out there that to prevent that destruction or that decay of a business or someone's livelihood. I think it's very important to spread that knowledge and let people know. So that's awesome. I love hearing that you were able to help so many people. That's fantastic. You have to feel good about yourself for that.
I feel great because, we're only paid on success. So when we're paid, it means that we've done something phenomenal for our company and created more jobs, better economy for the country, And you're right, those serial entrepreneurs, those small business owners are the backbone of our country in terms of job creation, employment. And again, they're on an unfair play field though, right? I mean, the big corporations take the tax credits, have the knowledge,
Yeah.
they're associated with big CPA firms like you were at one time. And that, most small businesses just don't have that access. So we have to create that access. And, this program that you do obviously helps create that awareness. And so,
I'm
that's
hoping
good.
so. I hope so. We wanted to, I'm trying to reach as many people as possible. We've got, I try to drop value in every episode. That's why I love talking to dynamic people like yourself. So do you have any free resources on your website where if somebody like wanted just to go and look and see, do you have anything like that set up that they can go take a peek?
We do. We have so many free resources, free tools that they can log into that can basically, with some information, calculate for them immediately if there's some tax benefits associated with their activity. And so that way you have an idea. That way you can go back to your account and say, listen, I went on this website. It looks like I have some tax credit opportunities. They have this free resource guide. And, hopefully that's beneficial to the small businesses. We worked hard to create this free resource library for small business owners and entrepreneurs so that they could benefit from that, whether they use us with their accounting firm or whoever they do. I mean, the most important thing is, creating jobs and keeping jobs here in the United States.
Oh my gosh, I love it, Julio. That's awesome. I love it. So great. You guys, you hear that? Free resources to help you with your business, to keep your business alive. You can continue to pay your employees and just take all the different resources that are out there available to you to support your business. It's very, very important. Before we start wrapping things up, Julio, are there any last words of advice or wisdom you'd like to share with the audience?
I would just share with the audience again, and I think this is an important factor, is that I think most people that start companies really don't value accounting and taxes, right? I think it's just, again, one of those things where I got to pay someone to do something. You got to find the right person that actually is a return on investment.
Yeah.
Anyone in your accounting, circle should be a 5-to-1 return on investment. For every dollar you pay them, they should be getting $5 to $10 back to you to benefit it. And, these are things that you have to think of from an entrepreneur standpoint.
I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I took accounting in college, but I mean, you always continuing your education to some level or degree to just make sure that you're ahead of the curve and you're making yourself a little bit more edgy in your business so that you are coming from an educated position. Because I think some entrepreneurs are just on autopilot and they're just so focused on go 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 that's a piece that the financial, the accounting piece is sometimes lacking for them. So it's very important. You gotta keep that money in your pocket there, folks. All right. With that being said, Julio, thank you so much for being a guest. I'd love to have you back and talk more about future tax stuff. Maybe in October you can let us know like all the new stuff that's coming out for businesses. This is your host, Deanna Kuempel with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, follow, all that good stuff. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.